Hey guys, Kev here, and we are continuing Asher Knife Co. week on the Lefty EDC channel. Today we're going to review the Asher Nomad Frame Lock, or Asher Frame Lock Nomad, or Frame Lock Asher Nomad, or Nomad Frame Lock Asher. One of those. Hey guys, I said all of that without screwing up. Congratulations, Kev. Anyway, this is a really cool knife, guys. I've had this. It feels like I've had this for a while. I mean, I know sometimes I have knives for like a week, and I swear I've had them for like 2 years. But I'm pretty sure, I'd have to go check, but I'm pretty sure I've had this guy for like a month. That's going to be my guess. And I've really enjoyed this knife. And if you saw my unboxing of this knife, you'll see that I initially had a pretty decent issue with it in terms of the lock. So the frame lock and the tang of the blade had metal fragments still on there, like they weren't sanded off all the way or something. And it really was like stiff to get to disengage, and the action was a little bit awkward. And I took it apart, and I just basically took sandpaper. I mean, literally took this sandpaper I had sitting in my knife maintenance kit, and I just kind of went back and forth a few times on the lock bar and the tang of the blade, and that knocked the burrs off or whatever it is, and it smoothed it out, and it's been like butter ever since. And of course, I told Justin from Asher Knife Co. about it. He's always interested in QC and what he can do to improve his knives. And he assured me that he will be checking every Nomad frame lock that goes out for that issue. It seems to have been a one-off in my case. I've talked about this many times, but if there is a lemon in the bunch, I always get it. So it's just kind of how it is, and I was able to take care of it, and now it is just perfect, and I absolutely love this knife. I think this knife is a home run for Asher Knife Co. So if you haven't heard of the Asher Nomad, it kind of started with this model here. This is the Asher Nomad. I just dropped an open knife that hit my foot, so I think I'm good, though. I'm going to close this. Kev. All right. This is the Asher Nomad. It came with the ball bearing lock. He doesn't even have a name for it. I think it's just called a crossbar lock or the axis lock. It has bearings. I think the first ones came with phosphor bronze, but that was a mistake by the manufacturer and whatever. So this is the original Nomad. We all know that it looks just like a bug out. I've heard it before. I know. I wouldn't say he copied the bug out. There's enough differences that it's not a clone or a copy. But it's definitely, very, very similar. And I think basically he likes the bug out. And he was creating a knife, and, he kind of drew up what he thought he liked, and I could see why a bug out would kind of come from that. I really love this design, too. Is it a little bit close to a bug out? Yeah. But, it is what it is, and I think the first design that came out with the Nomad was the Sentry, which it has the same handle, but it has a harpoon in the blade, which looks completely different than a bug out. And then I think he decided, why not just make a drop point as well for the people who like that? And that's when it kind of really looked like a bug out. So, again, I don't think he was trying to copy anything. Justin is a great dude. If you don't believe me, talk to him. Go on Instagram and email him. The guy is amazing. From the first conversation I had with him through email when I bought one of these, he just is a really cool dude. So, again, this is what the Nomad, this is the original Nomad. And then he decided to come out with a frame lock version of the Nomad to get rid of that axis lock and to try to make it a little bit thinner and slicier, because he had some feedback from the original Nomad that the grind wasn't very good, that it was kind of thick behind the edge. Specifically, some of those came from Jake. Shout out to Jake over at Bearded Gear, good buddy of mine. He thought it was a little thick behind the edge when Justin sent him one. And Justin obviously is the kind of guy who takes feedback and criticism and he uses it productively. He doesn't just throw it back at you or get upset or whatever. He thanks you for your input, and then he goes to work. And what he did was he came back with a super thin, super slicey Nomad frame lock here that honestly is one of the best cutters that I've used in the recent past. I have some paper here to show you. This thing slices like an absolute demon. I mean, this thing is incredible, guys. I have a little arm hair left from the last review. Let's see if I can shave it up. Oh, okay. Calm down, Kev. You can see it shaves arm hair, and yes, I'm a hairy man. So, you know, very good blade on this. I just kind of wanted to point that out. And this is S35VN steel. This is actual S35VN. It's been tested. You can tell by the stonewash on here. It has a steel frame lock with a G10 show side. It has a reversible clip, which Justin is always such a good dude. He always puts it on the left side when he sends me stuff. And he'll do that for you. If you order one, you just choose lefty, and he'll flip the clip for you before he ships it out. And if you're worried about any of the QC issues, you know, like the frame lock thing I mentioned, just leave a note in your order and say, hey, please QC check. He does it anyway, but it can't hurt. If you're worried about it, you know, go ahead and do that. Aesthetically, it's the same knife. It's a Nomad. It's a sweet, kind of basic neutral handle with the drop point blade. I absolutely love the look of this knife. I just think it's really cool. Normally, I don't like a knife that's different on the scales. Like, I like a knife that has G10 on both sides or micarta on both sides. But this knife is a little different. I just think it looks cool because of how thin it is. It's absolutely thin, guys. This thing is just, it's thinner than a bug out. And when you have this in pocket, you just barely feel it. It's incredible. I can't explain enough how good of an EDC knife this is. Just because it's fun to play with, because you have the frame lock and the thumb studs, you have good action. The flip or the stud action on this is incredible. You can hear it just crack out. I'll shut up so you can listen. I mean, it just fires out, and then if you use it right-handed with the frame lock, it drops shut like that. You shake it home. If you do it left-handed, flies out. You just disengage with this finger, pull it down, and then give it a good shake. Boom, home. I mean, it's just very, very fun to play with. I think he's messing around with doing a titanium frame lock version of this, which would be awesome. I would totally be up for that. Ergonomically, so this is a thin knife, and I have mentioned that a few times now. In hand, I can fit all 4 fingers perfectly on this knife. If you've ever held a bug out, it is very similar, but it is thinner. So you will feel that clip a little bit in your palm, and you will feel the edges here a little bit, just because it's so thin. Is it uncomfortable? No, it's not uncomfortable. I mean, I'm squeezing as hard as I can right now, and you can see a little mark from the clip. So, I mean, and that's kind of expected. The clip makes the knife twice as thick, but it doesn't hurt or anything, and I've used this knife a lot, actually. I know I say I don't use my knives all the time, but I do open a lot of packages. I test them on paper. I cut up fruit for my kid. I do things with knives. I just don't, when I say I don't use my knives all the time, like I'm not out in the woods chopping shit down. Like I'm not just using knives to test them on cardboard. Like, I don't cut a lot of cardboard, but I use my knives. And this one has just been fantastic. Every time I've had it in pocket and I've had to cut something, I've been like, ah, sweet, I have the Nomad frame lock. And then I take it out, and it has such a good edge geometry. You know, I'm not an expert on that, but whatever he did, whatever the changes he made to the original blade are fantastic. It just slices so well. And ergonomically, it is great. And it's so thin in pocket, you don't even know it's there. It's just a really good knife, guys. I know I'm just kind of going off here. So I've talked about aesthetic, I've talked about ergonomics, I've talked about cutting, I've talked about action. So we should probably talk about value, right? This knife is $75. So $75, you get G10, stainless steel frame lock, deep carry clip, S35 VN stonewash blade with a very good edge on it. You get good action. You know, you get to help support an American company in Asher Knife Co. Yes, it's made overseas. But you help support an American company. That's different than buying a CJRB or a Civivi. Those are made by a Chinese company and sold by a Chinese company. You know, this is sold by an American company, Asher Knife Co. out of the Pittsburgh area. So I always enjoy supporting an American company if I can. I just think it's a good value for $75. Like, you're not breaking the bank, and you're getting a damn good EDC knife that you're not going to be afraid to use. I love Asher Knife Co. I've said it before. My cousin recently reached out to me, and her husband, shout out to Travis, my cousin-in-law, I don't know. He recently, like, broke his knife or something, and it was like a Walmart Sheffield knife or something, and he heard that I was the knife expert in the family, and guys, you know that my freaking heart just soared as soon as I saw that text from her. I was like, hey, I heard you're the knife expert. I was like, oh, yes, how can I help you? Anyway, so then I was chatting with Travis, and he needed a new knife, and we were kind of talking about what he wanted. And it basically came down to he wanted to spend like $35, $40, right? And I recommended the Rat 1 and Rat 2. It was just like instinct to recommend those. And those are great knives to recommend. And he was, you know, he looked it up and he's like, yeah, this is perfect. And then I realized, like, no, dude, I have Asher knives. Like, I have a bunch, you know, I have a few Asher knives. It would not hurt me to get rid of one. So I was like, dude, I'm just going to send you a knife. And, you know, and he's like, no, I'm not taking it. And I was like, dude, just take it. So I shipped him an Asher Knife Co. Spiro. I shipped him this knife right here. I had another one. And he absolutely loves this thing, guys. He was, like, blown away by S35 VN. He's like, this stuff is hard as hell. Because he had to, I don't know what he did to it, but he somehow messed with the steel. And he realized it was hard as hell. So, you know, and he's coming from having a knife in, you know, 1.428 SS or whatever. So, I don't know. I just think a lot of times we get carried away with the steels. Like, we have to have Van X and shit, you know. And S35 VN, guys, is a phenomenal EDC steel. In my opinion, it's probably the best just everyday EDC blade steel you can get. But anyway, I love Asher knives, and I really like the Asher Nomad frame lock, and I can definitely recommend it to righties. I can definitely recommend it to lefties. So I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I appreciate you listening to me rant and rave as usual, and I will catch you later.